I've recently come across multiple 500-year-old maps that are so interesting yet so bizarre. I cannot understand how I've never seen or heard of these before. And I suspect by the end of this video, you'll likely feel the same, because what these maps show in the middle of the Sahara Desert is just not supposed to be there. Now, let me first primer your brain into what you're about to see by sharing one of the more unusual yet fascinating discoveries made in just the last few years. In fact, something that surprises pretty much everyone when they hear it for the first time, which is the fact that the Sahara Desert was a lush green tropical paradise as recently as just 5,000 years ago. In fact, some sources estimating as little as 4,500 years ago, before it rapidly transitioned to the vast hot desert that we're all so familiar with today, consisting of endless mountains of sand dunes that span further than the eyes can see. A truly remarkable discovery, considering we had presumed for so long that the Sahara must surely have been millions of years old. And get this, not only was it a lush wetland full of vegetation, but it also had a massive network of rivers, in fact one of which would rank among the world's largest today. But perhaps even more interesting than that is the fact that in the middle of the Sahara Desert was the world's largest freshwater lake ever known to have existed. So large, in fact, that this one lake had 50% more surface area than all the North American Great Lakes combined. And all of this, the rivers, the lakes, and lush vegetation that made up the Green Sahara, disappeared in almost an instant just a few thousand years ago. Wild, right? But these figures of 4,500 or 5,000 years ago, you see, that's the part where things start to get strange. For example, take this little-known yet incredible map from Louis II of France, which dates back to the year 1551. There are so many aspects of this map that are worthy of study and discussion. However, let's focus a moment on the Sahara Desert and notice that there are inlets of water streaming into the African continent from the north, the west, and the south all along the coastline. Something that no longer exists today. But also notice the river that is flowing into the middle of the Sahara. What river is this supposed to be exactly? Because surely it should not be confused with the Senegal River, which travels east-southeast into Africa, but nowhere near as far east as this river is shown to reach, particularly as it's annotated on other maps. Take this one, for example, which is another little-known map, and it was found in an atlas created by Portuguese cartographer Diogo Hamim, and also dates to the mid-1500s, and marks this same massive river flowing all the way clear through the middle of the desert into the eastern Sahara, nearly reaching the Nile River. And again, let's not forget the key detail here, which is that this is from nearly 500 years ago. Which, I mean, come on, where is this river today, and why have I never heard of it before? And by the way, when I point out that it nearly reaches the Nile River, let's take a look at yet another map. And this one was created in the year 1578 by Gerard Mercator. Certainly a name that will ring a bell to far more people. However, I'll venture to say that most people are still unlikely to have ever seen this before, much less studied the details annotated on this map, which, like I mentioned a moment ago, illustrates a diverse river traveling through the middle of the entire Sahara until it nearly reaches the Nile. And by the way, notice how it shows the Nile River extensively branching off in various directions that also no longer exist today. I find that quite interesting. But let me now point your attention to the northern Sahara and observe the multiple rivers that seemingly flow either into or from the Mediterranean Sea. And notice that it illustrates various tribes, cities, or settlements that are shown to have existed all along these rivers and waterways. And while we're at it, take a look at another map. This one is from 1645, created by Petrus Bertius, that is based on that same Mercator map you just saw. Now, this image is obviously a bit blurry, but it still paints us a picture into the nature of these mysterious river systems. But that's not all. Take a look at this spectacular map that was first published in the year 1639 by Claes Jansson Vischer, Certainly, the image is also a bit blurry like the other one when cropped, but if you look closely, you can still see a vast network of rivers traveling in virtually every direction throughout the Sahara. You know, when I see these various maps, I can't help but be reminded of the legends that claim that the Nile River once flowed from east to west, because let's look at this map here that was created some 400 years ago in the early 1600s, following the voyage of Willem Schouten in the year 1619, after he was the first to sail around Cape Horn. But notice how it shows the Nile River going further south, again into sub-Saharan Africa, before it then turns abruptly west. Tell me that's not interesting, because it keeps bringing me back to the same question, which is, why have I never seen or heard of these maps before? And not only that, why do they show these particular, or spectacular rivers, I should say, in the middle of the Sahara Desert as recently as just 400 and 500 years ago? A key detail that cannot be overstated. I mean, since when is any of this supposed to exist in the middle of the Sahara at that period of time? And make no mistake, these rivers would certainly have been an oasis for ancient human civilizations that would have undoubtedly occupied the lands around them. I mean, it's worth mentioning that there are recent scientific studies that have concluded exactly that, which, when you think about it, makes all the sense in the world, as human migration has long been known to travel along rivers, as well as along coastlines where settlements and entire civilizations are then established. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The Sahara Desert has got to be the hidden jackpot for lost ancient human civilizations, yet it receives arguably the least amount of attention, not just from history enthusiasts, but from the archaeological community as well. In fact, it's been said that much of the Sahara, particularly the Western Sahara, remains literally and figuratively almost blank as far as the wider international research community is concerned, which I have to say is incredibly unfortunate, as evidence has shown the existence of civilizations in this region dating back more than 11,500 years ago. So the question becomes, what is waiting to be discovered below the endless sea of sand, which could potentially be a preserve for archaeological evidence dating back thousands of years, or perhaps far more recently, as these various century-old maps seem to indicate? Honestly, isn't it a bit weird that you've never seen or heard of these maps before? I mean, certainly there are some people watching this that are familiar with some of them, but let's be real, it's not taught in school, and without a doubt, a vast, overwhelming percentage of the masses have never seen or heard of these before. But to make things even more bizarre than that, these are just a few of the ones that I've recently come across. In fact, the most interesting map of them all is 2,000 years old, and it shows something in the Sahara Desert that is related to Atlantis. And that is going to be the topic of my next video. In fact, this video was going to include all the above, all these maps and the topic of Atlantis. But there's so much to unpack that I had to divide it into two videos. And I'll be honest, and I know people hate hype, but that next video is going to be quite interesting. Now, that said, leave a comment and share what your thoughts are on these maps that, again, they show rivers and all kinds of things happening in the Sahara Desert 400 and 500 years ago. That's not supposed to be there. And honestly, it raises significant questions. And by the way, if you're wondering why you've never seen or heard of these before, it's because they sit in basements in museums and never see the light of day. It's a tragedy, actually. So give this video a thumbs up if you've never seen or heard of these before, or if you found the content interesting. And again, leave a comment and share your thoughts. But I'm Jimmy Corsetti. My channel is called Bright Insight. Stay tuned to my next video. Like I said, is going to be talking about Atlantis involving the Sahara Desert, which I know many people will find quite interesting. And also follow me on Instagram and support me and my channel on Patreon, Subscribestar, or Locals. I'll have the links down below. But all of that said, I'll close it up. Again, I'm Jimmy. My channel is called Bright Insight. And stay tuned to another interesting video real soon. Take care, everybody.